Please take a moment to increase the brightness on your device for optimal viewing. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sketchy Friendler, where every day I tell you a story and I draw a picture to go along with it. Today, I'm going to tell you about the time I saw a ghost. So if you're really creeped out by that kind of thing, this is your chance to switch away, because this is probably my creepiest story that I've got in me. So if you like it, hang out and get a little creeped out. Anyway, before that, I'm drawing in blue pencil, and I will continue to draw in blue pencil until I'm at the stage where I start drawing in graphite. So I will get to graphite. Just please bear with me. 2, if this is too light for you, then just crank the brightness on your phone all the way up, or whatever your viewing device is. And if you are watching on your phone, then feel free to rotate your phone horizontal if you want the image to become larger and fill the screen. And with that, let's do this. So again, this is a story about when I saw a ghost. This happened many years ago when I was about, I'm going to say 19 or 20. It was a time that I was working at an art store because I could get art supplies for cheap. And it was fun. I learned a lot about art materials. And this is in the county that I grew up in. And the property, from my understanding, my mom's boyfriend, whom I've grown up with, he's been around since I was about 5, so he's pretty much my stepdad. But he's lived in this town since the 1950s. Like, a lot of people that live in this town are transplants, but he's been there since the 1950s, and so he kind of knows like what was on what these areas were like way, way before it, became a popular place for people to live. And he was telling me that if he recalls correctly, he said that he believes that the property back when he was a kid was one of those indigent motels, those like kind of low income motels that people live in. But when I was there, the lady that owned the store, the art supply store, she'd been there for a while. Her husband, while he was still alive, he had I guess he ran a mechanic shop or a gas station or something there. And then she eventually converted the rest of it into the art store that we worked at. And it was fun. It was a fun place. There's a lot of cool people, fun people that I worked with, but just cool people that were customers, and some like well-known people. I don't really go into that right now, maybe in another story, but this is an area just north of San Francisco, so there's a lot of artists and musicians and famous folks that lived there because it was a pretty well-to-do area. But at any rate, this property, when I started working there, one of the stories that kept popping up was that the building was haunted, and that was it's a little troubling, but I don't know. It was people said they heard things, saw things, felt things. This one guy that I worked with that I'm drawing here, I'll call him Jay. he swore that he saw an apparition, like a little old lady with blue hair. He said we had these spinner racks that had a whole bunch of like old like magazines and clip art books. That and that took up one of the aisles, and he said he was walking down one of the aisles, and he said he saw this little old lady on the other side of one of the spinner racks, and he walked around the spinner rack to say, "Hey, how you doing? Can I help you? Or how may I help you?" or whatever the greeting was. And he walked around on the other side, and nobody was there. And the owner of the place and some of the other employees speculated they thought it was some little old lady that used to come into the shop all the time who had passed away that just really loved coming in, and perhaps her spirit was still coming in just out of force of habit. But I don't know. What I do know is that I had to close up the shop on, usually every Sunday. I think it was Sundays or Saturdays. I forgot. We closed on Sunday. She was a very religious lady. We were closed on Saturdays. It was one of the weekend days that I usually had to close because nobody else wanted to do it. I was the youngest employee, so I got shafted with the worst shifts, right? But I would always have to close out on that weekend evening. And I remember, just to straighten up, and you got to count the till. And I was by myself because the other employee would go home like right at close or like right after they did some of their cleaning. And then I would just count out the drawer, just do a last minute tidy up. And I do recall that it was always very creepy. Like it always felt like something or someone was watching me. And I was always in a rush to get out of there because I was getting really weirded out. Just weird vibes. And I remember just sometimes when it was quiet, when I get there and open up or just by ourselves, you hear like things moving around. But there's a lot of things in that shop. Things could have just been, I don't know, moving around or falling or settling, or I don't know. But I definitely felt like there was something else. Something else was there that was conscious. And I didn't like being there by myself. I'll put it that way. Could have just been my own imagination getting to me. But I don't think I've only felt that way a few times in my life, where it felt like something, the unseen was there and was aware and was watching me. When the hair on the back of your neck just stands up, and something very primal, like you become like a deer in the forest, and that you're being stalked by something, that kind of a feeling. And it wasn't another person that I was aware of that was causing that. So, at any rate, this place was old, and it was kind of a funky place, and I, other than that, I didn't really pay it much mind because I was too busy working, doing stuff. You don't really have time to really sit and think about that stuff unless nothing's going on. And even then, there's probably other stuff that was more important to me that I was thinking about or on my mind. So it didn't ever really bother me. So one afternoon, it was during the middle of the week, Jay and I were on shift together. I don't think anybody else was there at the time. Either people were off at lunch or it was just the two of us working that shift. I don't remember. So long ago. And I was up at the counter because somebody had to man the front because that's where people came in. And I think he had finished up whatever it was that he was putting away or setting up. So he came up to the counter and we were just shooting the breeze, just talking. And just regular conversation, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing memorable. As we're talking, I'm looking at him because we're talking to each other, and he's looking at me. So I'm facing out of where the counter is, back towards the back of the shop, and he's facing me. So he's kind of sideways too. So he's kind of facing the front of the shop, and then a little bit off to the side because he's kind of turned towards me. And as we're talking, I start to notice something. Just it doesn't even register what I'm looking at in the periphery because I'm looking at him. So I'm seeing something out of the corner of my eye just beyond him. And as you know, coincidentally, I don't know, but it was at those spinner racks that Jay had seen that, where he claimed he'd seen that little old lady. Now, I'm sitting there leaning up against the counter, and he's leaning against the counter. We're facing each other. He's kind of turned to the side towards me. As we're talking, just above one of the spinner racks, my brain subconsciously starts registering like movement above the spinner rack. And as we're talking, whatever it's moving that I'm seeing, it's gaining more of a shape, more solidity, and color. I can only describe it as an amorphous sort of swirly shape, kind of blues and oranges, but kind of the colors that you'd see in the movement of like when you see oil on top of water, or like heat waves off of like asphalt. It looked like that. It was kind of spinning, and it was getting more and more solid. And I'm not paying attention to this because it's not registering on my mind. I'm still talking to Jay here, and eventually it just becomes so solid, and so it's bigger. It's getting bigger. It's getting more solid. It's moving like kind of just above the spinner rack, that just instinctively I look up because I'm like, my brain finally says, okay, there's something there. Like subconsciously, my brain just said, look up. So I looked, nothing's there. At the very same moment that I look up, Jay spins around. And then he looks back at me. And I say to him, did you just see something? He's like, yeah. And I also heard something brushing up against the metal of the spinner rack. And we just we looked back and we looked at each other. And that is definitely the weirdest thing that I have ever experienced, like paranormal wise. Totally bizarre. Totally freaked me out. I didn't know what to think of it. He didn't know what to think of it. It just makes you wonder, because there's definitely things that you've probably seen over your entire lifetime that out of the corner of your eye, but you just discounted it as just some, your brain just misinterpreting something, or you don't even look up because you're just by yourself. How many times has that happened to you? And you probably just didn't even notice. But the mere fact that somebody else was there and they experienced it too, and they could corroborate what you saw or heard. He said he saw movement and he heard it because he was a little bit facing away, not directly looking in that direction like I was. I didn't hear anything, but I saw whatever it was. And this is the middle of the day. There was hedges up by the windows that were really high, so it couldn't have been anything outside reflecting in or anything. And it was just there for so long. If I think about it, it was probably there a good at least 10 seconds before I looked up, if not longer. That's what's the most disturbing thing about it is, like, when somebody else is there who witnessed it as well, there's no denying that there wasn't something. It was definitely something. I don't know what that something is. We can jump to all the conclusions we want. But it was something. And it was weird. And it creeped me and it creeped him out. Now, years later, I run into Jay, I think at the DMV or something. And I didn't even recognize him. It had been that long, and but he recognized me. And we got to talking. And I said, "Hey, Jay, remember that time when we were at the art store and we saw that thing?" And he got really upset. Like, he really got upset. He's like, "Oh man, no, that's so weird. I want to talk about it." Oh, he's like, look, the hair on my arms is standing up now. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. It really, I think it bothered him way more than it bothered me. I just think it's super interesting and definitely creepy, but it really bothered him. He didn't want to talk about it. I upset him. That's when you know you definitely probably saw something, because if he's that bothered by it still to this day, we definitely saw something. Don't know what it was. Quite frankly, you don't really want to know what it was. It was weird, though. And that's probably the truly creepiest story that I have experienced thus far in my life. And hopefully it is the creepiest, because I don't want to ever experience anything that tops that. A lot of other stuff I can explain away more easily. This one, not so much, especially because of the fact that, I wasn't the only one that saw it. And it was really weird, really creepy. And that's pretty much all I got. So take that for what it is and do with it what you will. But that is my creepiest story. And I figure this is the best time of year to talk about creepy stories. So I think I got one more, just a Halloween memory story from Monday, since that's going to be Halloween. It's not scary, it's just reminiscing. But this is the creepiest one, so if you were scared by this upset, it doesn't get any worse than this. So you've made it. You made it to Friday. I draw Monday through Fridays. Usually I will put up a poll on Saturdays where you can vote on drawing Monday through Friday which one you want me to draw the most. However, this week, instead of going live Sunday to draw that picture, there will be no poll. And instead, at 10 p.m. Eastern time, I will be choosing a drawing that I want to finish coloring in from some time. And my wife and I will go live, and we'll chat it up with you as I ink in and color in that drawing. I'm also, I do this again, on Facebook and YouTube. I'm on TikTok doing shorter videos, time-lapse videos, where I take you up through the inking process. They're about 2 minutes long. I give a little talk, a little speech, a little something, a little thought idea to go along with that. And then on Instagram, I post the finished picture from the previous day, so you can just hop on over there if you just want to look at the picture itself. And I think that should do it for this week. I got one more Halloween drawing on Halloween proper on Monday. So if you want to check in then feel free. Otherwise, you can hang out with us on Saturday. And thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.